Stop for a moment. Before logic, before explanations, before excuses. There is something a woman knows long before words ever confirm it. She doesn't always talk about it. She doesn't always react to it. But she feels it. And once she feels it, it never truly leaves her. This message found you for a reason. Because a woman's intuition doesn't arrive loudly. It arrives softly, calmly, like a quiet inner voice that doesn't beg for attention. It simply states the truth. She doesn't need proof at first. She doesn't need evidence. She doesn't need reassurance. Her soul reads patterns before her mind catches up. She senses changes before they are spoken. She notices distance before it becomes visible. She feels intention before action. And most people underestimate this. They think intuition is emotional, unreliable, imagined. But intuition is not emotion. It is subconscious perception. It's the mind collecting signals too subtle for logic to explain. Tone shifts, energy changes, inconsistencies in presence, gaps between words and actions. Her soul notices all of it. That's why when she grows quiet, it's not confusion. It's confirmation. She already knows. She may stay for a while after that. Not because she is unsure, but because she is giving reality a chance to prove her wrong. And when reality fails to do that, she stops explaining. This is the part people misunderstand. They think her silence means she gave up too early. They think she didn't communicate enough. They think she changed suddenly, but she didn't. She simply stopped fighting what she already knew. A woman's intuition does not rush. It waits. It observes. It watches consistency over time. And once the soul recognizes a pattern, it never unsees it. This is why her detachment feels sudden. But it wasn't. It was forming quietly while she was still present, while she was still trying, while she was still believing. Her intuition was working in the background. She noticed. When effort became inconsistent, when words sounded right but felt empty, when her emotional presence was taken for granted, she felt when she was no longer being chosen consciously. And intuition doesn't accuse. It simply informs. It whispers, "Pay attention. Something is shifting. This doesn't align anymore." At first, she questions herself. She asks, "Am I overthinking? Am I being sensitive? Am I expecting too much?" This is where intuition is often mistaken for doubt. But doubt asks questions. Intuition answers them quietly. The more she ignores it, the louder it becomes. Not through anxiety, but through discomfort. A tight feeling in the chest. A heaviness she can't explain. A sense that something isn't right, even when things look fine. This is the soul speaking. And the soul does not speak in sentences. It speaks in sensations. That's why she feels you even when you say nothing. That's why she senses distance even when you're still there. That's why she knows when effort is fading, long before it disappears. Her intuition already knows the truth about you. Not the version you present, but the version you reveal through behavior. And once her intuition understands something, it does not forget. She may still smile, still show up, still care, but internally, a line has been crossed. Because intuition doesn't need closure. It needs alignment. When alignment breaks, the soul prepares to leave. Not dramatically, not angrily, but calmly. This is why when she finally pulls back, it feels final. Not because she doesn't feel, but because she finally listened. A woman's intuition doesn't wait for explanations. It watches behavior. Not what you say when things are calm, but what you do when effort is required. This is where most people misunderstand intuition. They think it's a reaction, a guess, a feeling with no basis. But intuition is pattern recognition. Her mind quietly tracks how often you show up, how present you are when you're there, how your energy changes when she needs reassurance. She notices the pauses in your responses, the tone shifts, the difference between intention and action, and she notices them long before she mentions them. Because intuition doesn't rush to accuse. It waits to be sure. That's why when she finally speaks, she sounds calm, not emotional, not dramatic, calm, because the decision was already forming internally. Her soul has been collecting data. She sensed when you started pulling back emotionally, even if you were still physically present. She felt when your attention became divided. She noticed when effort felt forced instead of natural. These things don't need proof. They create an emotional imbalance that the soul recognizes instantly. This is why her intuition often surprises people. They ask, "How did you know? Why didn't you say something earlier?" But she did, not with words, with patience, with observation, with emotional awareness. Her intuition speaks before logic because it lives deeper. Logic tries to explain inconsistency. Intuition feels it. And once intuition feels something clearly, it doesn't argue with logic anymore. It steps back. This is when her energy changes. She becomes less reactive, less emotionally available, less eager to explain herself. Not to punish, but to protect. Because intuition doesn't seek validation. It seeks safety. Her soul starts asking different questions. Do I feel secure here? Do I feel chosen consistently? Do my emotions feel respected or managed? And when the answers don't align, her intuition prepares her to detach. Not suddenly, gradually. This is why many people feel blindsided when she leaves emotionally. They didn't notice the quiet signs. She stopped over-explaining. She stopped asking for clarity. She stopped needing reassurance. These are not signs of distance. They are signs of certainty. Her intuition has already accepted the truth. She might still care. She might still love. But love does not override intuition forever. Because intuition is not about fear. It's about self-respect. When her soul realizes it is giving more than it is receiving, it doesn't create drama. It creates boundaries. And boundaries feel like coldness to those who benefited from her openness. That's why, when she finally steps back, it feels like a switch was flipped. But it wasn't a switch. It was a slow realization. Her intuition saw who you were becoming in the relationship. Not who you promised to be, not who you were at the beginning, but who you were choosing to be consistently. And consistency is what intuition trusts. This is why a woman often knows the end before it happens. She feels it long before she accepts it. And when she accepts it, she doesn't need confirmation anymore. There is a moment when a woman's intuition completes its work. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't create conflict. It simply withdraws emotional access. This is the part most people don't understand. They think distance is anger. They think silence is punishment. But silence, in this case, is closure in progress. When her intuition reaches clarity, she stops negotiating with hope. Hope kept her patient. Hope made her explain. Hope made her wait longer than she should have. But intuition replaces hope with knowing, and knowing is quiet. She no longer needs to ask where she stands. She no longer needs reassurance. She no longer feels confused by mixed signals. Her intuition has already answered those questions. This is why her energy feels different now. She is present, but not invested. Kind, but not emotionally open. Polite, but not attached. It's not coldness. It's self-protection. Her intuition understands something very important. If someone truly values her, she won't have to shrink herself to be chosen. So when effort disappears, she doesn't chase it. She adjusts. And this adjustment changes the entire dynamic. Now the person who once felt secure begins to feel unsure. The one who took her presence for granted begins to feel her absence even while she's still there. Because emotional presence matters more than physical closeness. This is when people start saying, "She changed. She's distant. She's not the same anymore." And they're right. But what changed wasn't her feelings. What changed was her tolerance. Her intuition stopped excusing behavior that hurt her peace. This is why once she detaches emotionally, it's hard to regain access. Not because she's stubborn, not because she wants control, but because intuition doesn't forget lessons learned through pain. She remembers how it felt to be patient without being prioritized. She remembers how it felt to give without receiving. She remembers the emotional weight of waiting. And intuition refuses to put her back in that position. Even if you return with words, even if you show emotion now, even if you promise change, her intuition asks one question before letting anyone back in. Is this consistent or is this fear? Because fear creates urgency, but consistency creates safety. She watches closely now, not with anxiety, but with awareness. She listens not to what you say in emotional moments, but to how you behave when things feel normal again. This is where most people fail. They show up strongly at first. They apologize deeply. They promise change. But once comfort returns, effort fades. And intuition notices immediately. That's why, when she pulls away, it feels final. It's not because she stopped caring. It's because she learned to care about herself more. And once a woman's intuition aligns with self-respect, it doesn't reopen doors easily. There comes a point where a woman no longer waits for proof, not because she doesn't care anymore, but because her soul already understands the truth. Her intuition didn't rush her to leave. It guided her slowly toward clarity. It showed her patterns. It showed her imbalance. It showed her how much she was giving versus how much she was receiving. And once her intuition reached certainty, waiting no longer made sense. This is the moment people often misunderstand. They think, she moved on too fast. She didn't fight hard enough. She gave up. But what they don't see is how long she stayed while quietly understanding. She stayed while questioning herself. She stayed while hoping things would change. She stayed while adjusting her expectations. Leaving emotionally was not sudden. It was earned by inconsistency, by silence, by effort that came only when it was almost too late. Her intuition did not betray you. It protected her, because intuition exists to keep the soul safe, not comfortable. When she finally stops waiting, something shifts permanently. Not in her anger, not in her tone, but in her availability. She is no longer emotionally reachable in the same way. You might still talk to her, you might still see her smile, but the part of her that once waited, explained, and overgave, that part has stepped back. This is why people feel her absence, even when she is present, because she is no longer pouring herself into a space that did not protect her peace. And here is the truth that is hard to accept. Her intuition was right because it was built on self-awareness. She didn't leave because she stopped loving. She stepped back because love without safety slowly becomes self-abandonment. Now, if someone realizes this too late, they feel the loss deeply. Not because she disappeared, but because she stopped waiting to be chosen. And once a woman chooses herself fully, she does not go backward. She moves forward with clarity, calm, and emotional strength. Her intuition didn't close the door out of anger. It closed it out of wisdom. Final message. If you're watching this and recognizing someone in your life, understand this. You don't lose a woman when she stops talking. You lose her when she stops waiting. And that decision is made quietly, long before the goodbye. Have you ever felt a moment when you knew something was over, not because of words, but because your intuition became quiet and clear?